I'm alive. All right, great. Well, it's Thursday, August 29th, and we're about to end the first, or actually the second week of Bio 1140. So hope everybody's getting all your assignments done on time. I know there's only 3 assignments this week. Don't forget to do the quiz, the science and digital literacy assignment, and of course the Pack Back assignment, which I'm actually really enjoying reading your questions and some of your answers to Pack Back. And the science and digital literacy assignment this week, it's about organic versus conventionally grown foods. And there's a lot of information out there about those two subjects. And you got to tell me which one is you think. I know for a long time I ate organic. I don't really buy organic food anymore. It's not that big of a deal. I think right now there's some issues with it. So I think I just kind of gave away some of the answers there to that assignment, but that's okay. We're all here to learn anyways. Okay, so I don't have any questions coming in yet. Looks like I've only got a few people up here, only one actually, but that's okay. Like I said, this is a great time for you guys to come in and ask me any questions about this material. This chapter 2 is a lot of fun. For one, a lot of biology textbooks basically jam these themes in biology into a half of a chapter into a chapter 1, which is an introduction. But here on this one, let me pull it up for me right here. I kind of made an entire chapter out of that. So first of all, one of my favorite things to think about is, if we were to discover alien life, would we recognize it if we ever saw it? And, a lot of people are like, well, what about life as we know it? Well, at some point, you got to start defining what life is. And the problem is we tend to think of life as something. It's a noun, but in reality, life is an action. Life is a verb. Life does something. So I like to think about the question, what does life do? And if we come up with a set of characteristics that life does, then if we find those verbs that it's doing, then we can recognize life almost anywhere in the universe. So for instance, what does life do? At its heart, life takes in energy from the world around it and uses that energy to create order and maintain homeostasis. Now from there, the creating order and maintaining homeostasis, that is done by a various set of chemical reactions known as our metabolism, which is directed by our DNA. And then of course, a lot of biologists really focus on reproduction and evolution for biology, because if you don't reproduce, life would show up, and then without the ability to reproduce, it would soon perish. So life has to be able to reproduce. And of course, because you're copying information from one generation to the next, every time you copy a lot of information, some of it gets not copied correctly. That creates genetic variation on which allows life to evolve. So there you have it. That's the way I like to think about life. Life is about using energy to create order through a series of metabolic reactions that are directed by our DNA. And of course, life can reproduce by copying that DNA, all that information, and passing it to the next generation. And if we find something in the universe like that, then I think we could qualify it as life, even if the chemistry is very different or it looks very different from anything we have. And then another thing that's important also is that there's a hierarchy to life and the universe in general. I mean, we all start out at like protons, neutrons, and electrons. You, me, the computer screen in front of you, the rock outside your door, the plants growing in your yard. We are all made of the same 3 fundamental particles, protons, neutrons, and electrons. These things come together to make 92 or so different elements. The elements combine to make millions of molecules, and molecules combine to form cells. And with the hierarchy of life, you'll notice that with each level of complexity, every time we go up, there's more and more properties available. So 3 subatomic particles make 92 elements. Each element is different. These 92 elements combine to make millions of molecules. Each molecule has different properties. And then when we go to the cell is life emerges at the cell. Those processes of life emerge at the level of the cell. So cells are really important because, like I said, they're the foundation of life. And life itself is an emergent property. We are greater than the sum of our parts. And then, cells form organisms form communities which live inside of ecosystems. And at each level, like I said, you get increasing complexity. And then my other chapter is on, or the other section, I should say, is on evolution. And I talk a lot about that there's a lot of misconceptions about evolution. So I kind of like to clarify how evolution is both a fact and a theory. And quite briefly, we define facts as something that actually exists or happens that we can verify through either observations and experiments. So if I define evolution as a species changing over time, or if you want the more precise definition, a change in allele frequencies from one generation to the next in a population, we can actually measure that and we can test for it. So things evolve. I mean, we see it all the time. We have enormous amounts of evidence that life evolves. Now, the theory of evolution is an explanation as to why things evolve. Why did humans evolve? Why did whales evolve? Why did bats evolve? And the answer to that is mostly evolution by natural selection, which is a theory, it's a very powerful theory that explains why species evolve over time. And the theory of evolution has been backed up by almost 160 years, 170 years now of experiments and observations, and is yet to be refuted. Now, evolution by natural selection is not the only way that a population can evolve. Remember, individuals cannot evolve, but a population can. And there's some other things that can cause evolution, but they're not adaptive. Only natural selection can get a species to adapt to the environment. And then lastly, all life has to interact with this environment. I mean, every living organism must acquire the nutrients to survive and energy to utilize those nutrients to create order and maintain homeostasis. And to acquire those ingredients of life and to acquire energy, you must interact with the environment. So no organism is an island. So I make that connection about how life interacts with the environment. And that has a lot of implications for humans, because even though we live inside of our cities, we have air conditioning and heating, and we don't get close to nature often, we are still intricately connected to the world around us through healthy ecosystems. And when our ecosystems are not healthy, we don't have clean air, we don't have clean water, and our foods can become contaminated. So having healthy ecosystems is very important. Okay, so that about sums up what we're going to be discussing this week and what you're learning. And I don't see any questions right now coming in. And like I said, I will keep doing this. You're welcome to join me at any time to ask questions. And remember, I don't have internet at my house. I kind of moved out to the country, went off grid a little bit, and I don't miss having internet, actually. Okay. Somebody wrote in and said, thank you. Have fun at the zoo. Yeah, I'm going to be at the zoo tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. I'll be at the entrance. I have me and my daughter with me. And you guys are welcome to come join me. My general vertebrate zoology class, some of those students will come join me as well. And it'll be a good chance for you guys that are taking this class online to get to actually meet me. And I know not everybody lives in town or has the ability to do that, and that's okay too. All right. If I don't have any questions, anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, have a good weekend. Don't forget to turn in your assignments on time, and I will be back on next week. All right. Goodbye.